Welcome to another episode of the Love and Reality Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to be recapping episode 10 of The Ultimatum, which was the reunion episode of The Ultimatum Queer Love. It has been one of the craziest seasons of reality TV that has had some highs and lows. And just to give you guys a quick recap of what went down in episode 9, of the 5 couples that joined the ultimatum, we had 4 couples propose and 4 couples have walked away from this experiment, heading into the show, are walking away from the show engaged. Now, the big question remains, who is still together? Who's thriving? Who's separated? What happened when the cameras went off? And you know what, folks? I am excited to dive in because this was insane. I'm going to just kind of quickly recap from start to finish everything that went down. I would love to hear your thoughts about what went down on the reunion. Like I said in the past, please subscribe to this. If you're listening on iTunes, hit that subscribe button. Spotify, go ahead and hit that little like button. Leave a 5-star review if you can on any of the platforms. And if you're watching on YouTube, please do me a favor and subscribe. It does help me out immensely. I love talking about this. And as I mentioned last week or Tuesday, I will be diving full force into the Temptation Island series dropping on USA Network June the 14th. Very excited to jump into that, but let's dive into the reunion. All right, so when you first see the layout, you're very confused of where everybody's sitting because nobody is sitting together. Like none of the couples are sitting together. So you're really like, what is going on? Is nobody together? What? But apparently they have them separated from who gave the ultimatum and then, of course, who received the ultimatum. So that's what we're on now. Everyone talks about watching the show and how everyone is so kind of raw and genuine. Mal said her facial expressions made her laugh. Our first couple we're going to dive into are Ray and Lexi. So Lexi said last year has been amazing. They moved to California together. It's been the best year of her life. Ray follows suit with the same sentiment. Everything got easier and easier after the proposal. And then our host brings up, as it's now coined, Fingergate. For a nice little fresh reminder of what happened, Vanessa and Ray partook in Fingergate. And look, I'm sorry. I still have massive issues with what Lexi did on the show. I feel like she did nothing but bully Ray and Vanessa on this show. Not condoning their actions, but both of them were in this experiment. And again, she was in this experiment doing many of things that she would have criticized and did criticize Ray for doing. But Lexi said that the queer terminology is weird when it comes to sex. Ray talks hurting the person she loved and it made her feel bad. Vanessa talks, said she felt the same and they weren't in love with each other and they both ended up doing something. Said it didn't need to happen. Lexi speaks up and of course says the words that mean nothing to her. Vanessa said it's a crutch for her to make a joke out of anything and she wants to be taken more seriously. Everyone talks up Lexi and Ray and excited to see them work through it. It's Xander time. Xander says they haven't talked at all. Vanessa said it's been a real big struggle and they thought there was a chance they would rekindle and they just kind of stopped talking. Xander said, I love you as a friend and took this experience as they shouldn't be together. Vanessa breaks down. Xander says that over her time in the experiment, she focused on herself. And the host says if there's any hope that her and Vanessa would get back together and says, and Vanessa says her emotions come from knowing it's a no. It gets rather emotional here. Xander said that Vanessa was her best friend. It was hard for her to not talk to her, but feels happy to get her friend back. Whew. Not really of a shock there that these two still aren't together. You know what I mean? They left the show not together, the only couple to do so. Mal and Yoli's turn. Mal announces that they are happily, not just broke up, happily broken up. And the host asked how quickly. And before like she even got to finish the sentence, Yoli goes 2 weeks. But Mal said it wasn't like that. This is a knockdown, drag out battle between these two. Mal said if you watch the show, you can see she isn't being honest and it doesn't track. Yoli said once the camera stopped, she felt Mal would return. She felt Mal would return to who she was. And Yoli said that's what happened. Again, one of those things that I particularly mentioned and somebody else did on the show. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was Vanessa's father that stated when somebody's back's against the wall, they realize they're losing someone, that might trigger that proposal. And I think Mal was trying to hang on to something just so Yoli couldn't have Xander. Now, Mal said she was triggered, and what they talked about, what happened on the show and what actually happened when she watched the show was two totally different things. Yoli said she DM'd her and said there was nothing to worry about. Said the part with Yoli that there was closure talk instead of Yoli saying, I love you and miss you, Xander. If you guys remember that scene where they were at that restaurant, everybody was together and Yoli and Xander were just kind of mucking it up together in front of everybody. It's interesting to hear that Yoli might have said that there was nothing to worry about. Yoli did say she regretted that. She apologizes for that moment. Mal said it was tough part is less about her being with someone else, but was watching it back and feeling like a stranger to her. Mal said she looks like an ass on television. The host asked if they are friends. They said yes, but it doesn't feel like it right now. Mal said it deserved to make it try. And Vanessa goes, quote unquote, they did try. And Yoli goes, you couldn't wait to bring that up. And now the host brings it up. Xander and Yoli said they stayed in communication and nothing happened. They hung out at Coachella, quote unquote, they just hung out. Yoli said, is that the big reveal, Vanessa? Vanessa said she did find out Xander and Yoli were planning a trip to Hawaii. Xander brings up they did talk about it. Mal said she didn't know that. Yoli said she had a great time with Xander. Xander said they are both on their own journeys right now. Look, I just feel like the chemistry, the vibes, the eye contact. Yoli and Xander, man, I'm telling you, these two have got to like give it a full-fledged try. They really do. I know that there was a bubble there, but they just have this electric chemistry that just denying the opportunity together was crazy. Yoli did break down, said motherhood might not be for her. She breaks down quite a bit. The dogs are brought up. Tiff brought up Shiloh having a surgery, but Mildred pops right in and said, when was those dates? Mildred says she isn't in her life anymore, followed by saying out of nowhere, the future never came back in their lives together. These two now start arguing. This is getting ugly. Now these two continue to argue about who left who on the show. Tiff said that they had an unhealthy relationship, and Mildred asked why take the next step. But Tiff said she felt like at one point they were on the same team. Mildred believed that she would be committed, but didn't know she would have to take care of her. Mildred said she asked to split the rent 3 ways because of her kid. Now, if you guys recall, Mildred's kid is autistic and handicapped and is not going to, she's basically going to, Mildred's going to have to take care of her kid for basically for the rest of their life. They can't really do for their own. So Mildred, Yoli speaks up in this situation, asks her how it got brought up. It's definitely interesting here because this is never really resolved here. But Tiff, if this is true, Tiff really does ask Mildred to split the rent 3 ways. That's a big no. Like, that's a no. First off, that's your kid. First off, the situation that's going on between them two, that's ugly. That's like straight ugly. And I don't like that at all. Mildred said, Mildred announces that she was arrested for throwing things at Tiff. Said she called her a trash mom. These two hate each other. Like, Tiff is delusional, acting like this never happened. Tiff said she is gaslighting her. Tiff walks off the set. Ozzy said gaslight brought up her time with Mildred. Sam speaks up and said it wasn't fair what Mildred did to Tiff. Sam consoles her in the parking lot. Tiff said she doesn't want to ever see her again. Sam comes back inside and Vanessa asks if Tiff is coming back. She says no, and we see her leaving in a van. Sam and Ozzy talk now. It's their turn. Jokingly talk about the Rock incident that everybody was laughing about, except for, laughing about now, but in the moment it was terrifying because everybody thought that Ozzy was just proposing with a Rock, which was definitely funny. Ozzy talks about there was a lot of self-discovery. They talk about how they're trying to work on the lack of communication that Ozzy had. Ozzy said her family still doesn't know yet, but plans on telling them and hoping that they embrace who she is. They are ready for the wedding bells, these two. So we've got Lexi and Ray. Dynamic. You know what I mean? Apparently everything is going great. Sam and Ozzy, things are going good. But the other two engaged couples, Mal, Yoli, done. And Mildred and Tiff, definitely done, especially since we had one behind the bars. The host asked if there was any regrets. Vanessa said she apologized for making a bad impression on everyone. Lexi said the experiment would have been worth the time just for her time with Mal. Yes, please, let's talk more about your time in this experiment with Mal. The stuff that you never brought up, the stuff that you never talked about. Like, why has this never been brought up? I'm frustrated still about this situation. I will always be frustrated because nobody pushed this. Nobody pushed it. Even after watching it back, it still wasn't pushed on the show. Ozzy said she learned a lot about herself on the show. Everyone is grateful for their time on the show. So a quick recap. Yoli and Mal, a no-go. Mildred and Tiff, a no-go. Sam and Ozzy, still going strong. Xander and Vanessa, obviously no. Ray and Lexi, just when we think everything is rosy, they've moved to California, everything is going perfectly fine, we get a little note at the end of the episode, after it's over, that Lexi and Ray are broken up. What? That's insane to me. I didn't see that coming. Well, I did, but I didn't. I don't really know. I really feel like Vanessa got gaslit into saying that she was on this show for, the fame, and she's just trying to be, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me. But can we say the same about Lexi? Lexi had a big following going into the show. But coming on a show like this really brings you a whole lot of notoriety, brings you a whole lot of new opportunities. And I'm telling you what, Lexi might be one of the worst people that's been on any of these reality shows, because she's never been held accountable for her actions. She always bullied Vanessa and Ray. I'm not saying Vanessa was perfect on the show, but I'm saying that Vanessa tried to be the bigger person often towards the end of the show with apologies and stuff like that, and Lexi just wasn't having it. Does it surprise me that Ray and Lexi broke up? Absolutely, positively not. But short, sweet episode. There was only about a 45 minute reunion. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think about what went down in the big reunion. It was insane, because when you think back now, there's only one couple, Ozzy and Sam, that are still together, that started the Ultimatum together. So it's definitely crazy, definitely interesting to see that. It'll be crazy to see if in 6 months, if Sam and Ozzy are still together. Will Xander and Yoli ever give themselves the opportunity? You know what I mean? Will that ever happen? But all right, folks, thank you guys so much for listening to my coverage of the Ultimatum. It's been a fantastic, crazy, drama-filled season. I can't wait for Netflix's next dive into the reality world. What show is going to come back? We know Perfect Match is being cast. We know another seasons of The Circles are being cast. The Ultimatum is being cast again. Love is Blind is being cast. But when are we going to get those come to the fruition? Hopefully we find out a little bit more in the near future. Obviously, like I said, starting next Wednesday, I will be covering Temptation Island right here on the Love and Reality podcast. It's set to begin on the USA Network June the 14th. And like I said, if you don't know what Temptation Island is, it's 4 new couples head to Hawaii to put their love to the test. With couples at a critical point in their relationship, the pressure heats up with 16 single men and women who are ready to mingle and find their own true love. Each couple must decide whether or not they're to commit to its current partner or give in to the temptation of the singles on the island for the quote-unquote one. Excited to dive into that show. Like I said, if you want to give me any details on what you thought about this show, head on over to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Ricky Valera _. Thank you guys so much for listening to the show, and I will talk to you guys next week.